Hello, Internet. I'm HamsterBomb.
I'm Zach.
And this is HITBOX, the gaming podcast where we talk about
Video games!
And today, we're going to be talking about some games through the years. I don't know why we did that.
It was the right thing to do at the time.
At the time, not anymore, not ever again.
Moments
so
past.
we apologize. No, today we are going to be continuing our quest looking through every year in gaming history, well, except for all of those that came before 85. To be fair, we lumped them together in a two-part episode.
Yeah.
So, and we're doing the Atari Action Hour, kind of playing through basically everything.
Basically.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
But note, this time we have made it all the way to 2005.
We
can
did it,
actually
boys.
see that glorious date showing up in the bottom right corner. If you are watching the video version of this, we are going to be playing Mario Kart DS.
Let's go!
Yeah, the DS library, the last year was pretty stale. Like,
Little bit, yeah.
You had the new Mario 64 to play in the new controls, new characters. That was cool, but
Yep.
there really weren't a lot of great games on it. Now the library's getting fleshed out. There's a lot of cool stuff to play. We're going to look at just a few that we have sampled. Obviously, Mario Kart's going to be one.
Ta-da!
And the reason we selected this one as the game to play watch this time is, honestly, I would say that the big game that really defines this year might not be the greatest for all audiences. We'll talk about it when we get there.
Yeah.
But just to make sure that you're watching something that's a little more family friendly, and I can totally play just and talk the whole time through, it's Mario Kart DS.
Mario
I adore
Kart
this
DS.
one. But before we get into that, there's a couple events that happened this year, some pretty big things. This is finally the launch of the Xbox 360, the first of its generation, so it's beating the PS3 and the Wii by a whole year.
Basically, yeah.
This honestly was probably the best time to be an Xbox fan. Because this is when they were actually like cutting edge technology ahead of everybody else, and they actually had some good stuff to play.
Yeah, we really actually did have some interesting games that came out this year. One of the launch titles actually coincided with the previous gen. It was a King Kong game, actually, based on Peter Jackson's remake. And when I saw that at like Walmart, like looking through games and stuff, holy crap, that blew me away. Because at the time, that T-Rex and all that was so realistic to me. I'm like, video games can't get better than this.
Exactly. I remember thinking the same thing when I saw that this coming generation, as soon as we hit this mark, gaming, like, you can even look at Mario Kart right now. You can say like, oh, this looks awful, but at the time, this looked amazing, okay?
Yeah.
Now, imagine this same year, we have the Xbox 360, and now we're like really jumping to some cutting-edge graphics where you gotta get a microscope out and tell, are we actually playing a PS3 game or are we playing a PS5 game? Now, I'm sure the youngins can do this in an instant, just like running up to the windows and saying, well, it's not doing the ray tracing properly. And, you know,
well, your windows don't have reflection like they used to did in the old days.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. I'm just saying, like, the leaps and bounds that we were getting from graphical jumps in video games, let's be honest, this is the last one that's happening. We're not ever gonna have some other huge thing. I can't imagine something that's...
Unless if we go full VR, like accessible VR, I'm not really seeing...
Zero latency.
Yeah.
But even still, like, the graphics are there already.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, so it's just a matter of, like, getting the performance, which isn't gonna feel like anywhere near as big as this jump is to get to the Xbox 360.
Yeah, but that's speculation.
Yeah, but anyways, because of that, I was waiting for some big event to make us feel like we're in the modern era so we could finally change a certain tradition we've had in these episodes.
Aww.
And that is giving away 2 awards at the end of it. We're finally going to start saying no more of that. We have to decide, and we will both personally choose our game of the year.
Yep.
And no longer just what's our favorite game to play and which one's the most influential of the year for us. Because we, to be honest, kind of did that to talk about 2 different games and get to not have to choose between favorites.
I still argue that there was merit, but as we kind of get more and more into what I guess what we would consider the modern era of video gaming.
Yeah. Are you going to choose a most influential game of last year? it seems silly.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're
sure,
not
eventually,
that far in the future,
in hindsight, you can figure it out, but this is, I think, a good cutoff point where, we need to stop at one point, so might as well
nip it in the bud early. I see a reason.
Yeah, so, and I figure this is a good turning point. This is the new console generation coming up. We will get to some of those games, but there's actually one more event this year that I kind of added into our list to make sure we talk about. So we've been getting video game films and adaptations, animes, and stuff up to this point.
On and off,
and they've had questionable quality up to this point. Like, they're enjoyable, but nothing that actually was comparable to what it actually came from, what it originated from.
Yeah.
There's always like a huge disconnect. Like, think of like the Legend of Zelda animated series. Like, that doesn't look anything, it doesn't behave like anything. Even the manual of the game, like it's in its own universe. It's just being ridiculous.
Do you think the French actually really cared that much about adapting that series faithfully?
Fine. What about the Street Fighter, the Mortal Kombat, Resident Evil? I don't think that's happened yet. But
are you saying Jean-Claude Van Damme is not a good Guile? Because he isn't. I love Jean-Claude Van Damme,
I think the Doom movie happens this year too.
Oh God, it does.
I remember watching that when that came out, and being so
underwhelmed.
It was horrible. I watched it with a friend who was a huge Doom fan.
Yeah.
And we couldn't get through it. It was terrible. But anyway, so that was like the standard. Like, we expected bad, and we weren't expecting like Doom level bad, but still, this year we actually get something that's really good, and people still remember this very fondly.
Yeah.
And it is Final Fantasy VII Advent Children.
The first of the world of Final Fantasy VII universe that Square decided to milk.
Yeah, yes, but like characters were true to themselves. Everything looked beautiful. It looked almost, I would say almost, what you would envision when you were playing the game on PS1. Some of the characters were, of course, redesigned. Cloud's Buster Sword is all sorts of cyberpunk, multiple pieces now.
Yep.
They made some changes, of course, to sell the movie.
Red 13 only has one line, and that's at the end of the movie.
Yeah, and Kate Sith has a very thick accent.
Oh, yeah.
Which doesn't really make sense to me, because Reeve doesn't.
No.
Unless
it was going through like some computer program to like really change
to give him an accent, meaning he built that.
Yeah.
That's so dumb. Whatever.
Well,
out of some contrivances aside, it's a really good movie. It's kind of hokey and gives you an excuse to talk about Genesis to tie into Crisis Core, which is coming soon.
But from my experience watching this movie, I hadn't played Final Fantasy VII before watching this, and
really?
Yeah, I actually enjoyed it. I was lost.
Yeah. Well, luckily it doesn't actually spoil much. You would have known, not playing the game, Sephiroth's a bad guy.
Yeah.
You don't want him to come back. Cloud is the protagonist, and luckily it actually doesn't even spoil much about what really will be spoiled heavily in Crisis Core or from the second half of Final Fantasy VII. So, you know what, in that regard, it's actually a really well-made movie.
Yeah, I remember enjoying it. Like I said, I was lost, but it was cool.
The big spectacle at the time was the graphics. The CG graphics for a video game movie? Oh my God. I wasn't even huge on Final Fantasy at the time, and I was blown away with this film.
Oh yeah.
Just from how it looked.
It still actually kind of holds up in some regards.
Yeah, in some regards it does. Yeah. I've still yet to see the director's cut, which I hear is even better. Because there's a lot of weird stuff that doesn't make sense if you're just watching the film, and if you're like really hip on the lore, you're like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
But still, that happens this year. There's a lot of big stuff to think about. Like, this is a big, probably the first huge, maybe this is next year, the first huge console wars year.
Absolutely.
We're getting there. This is when it's gonna be, are you Team Sony, Team Microsoft, or playing in the sandpit in the backyard Nintendo? Which was me.
I was a PS3 dude when that came around, so that was me.
Oh, I absolutely had a PS3. I thought Teams was stupid. I was
it is.
How come? Yeah, there's people at school out saying like, oh, what do you mean you got a? Why'd you get a Nintendo Wii? You have a PlayStation. Like, I want to play the new Zelda.
Can you not play? It's like, can you play Zelda Skyward Sword on the PS3? I don't think so.
Have you played Mario Galaxy? Shut up.
Xenoblade Chronicles?
I wanted to play Little Big Planet, and I wanted to play Uncharted while I'm playing No More Heroes. So you go stick it in Xenoblade Chronicles. You go shut up, son. How about we just start with the game that we are playing today live? Hopefully, I'm going to be a little less distracted because this is a game that I can just zone out and play.
Yeah, I've only played this in very small bits here and there. You know way more about this game than I do, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Well, because I have yet to really play this. I want to know more. I've just got to set the time aside for it.
I adore this one. This might be my favorite Mario Kart, and it is close because Double Dash, I just love the gimmick so much.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can co-op play it.
Yeah.
Because so many times I would play Mario Kart with people, and I'd slaughter them.
Now, out of curiosity, did this require multiple people having the same copy, or could you actually link up DS's?
You could download Play with this.
Good.
And you could play so much. It gave you a ton. Awesome. It was amazing, and I think it all like played. And there were even unique courses that you could only play through download Play.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of unique stuff, so that's a good thing to mention because the Nintendo DS has that ability. We haven't even mentioned that to have one person have one copy of the game and another person doesn't. Switch ain't letting you do this, by the way. No. So one person says, oh, you don't have Mario Kart? Let me let you download, not the full game, but it's basically like a demo that they can play only while they are playing with you at that moment.
Exactly, yeah. It's like loaded into the RAM through the NFC connection or whatever.
However it works, it's genius.
Yes.
Because it runs seamlessly. I remember a friend telling me, like, oh, we should play Mario Kart together. I'm like, there's no way it's going to run that smoothly. I was doubting, I think we even talked about when the GameCube started having those wireless controllers, the Wavebird.
Oh, yes.
I was like, that's not going to work. There's no way. My Wavebird works beautifully to this day.
It was the way.
So, yeah, it was the way. So, anyway, there's only two proper ways that I play this game, even though I love all the characters. It is either with Dry Bones or the buddy himself, Rob, was made a character and he has never come back. This is like Donkey Kong Jr. He's never come back in Mario Kart.
Actually, I think he might have been introduced in the booster pack for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
I don't think so, but
I'd have to check, but...
No, not 8 Deluxe, because I would have bought the game. No kidding. I love Rob that much. I'm really weird about Rob.
No, I get it.
I thought you were going to say Mario Kart Tour. That I'm not positive. But I am positive he is not in... Piranha was added. But no, you can't play as Rob.
Yeah, he might have been a gotcha pull in Tour then.
So, of course, we're playing Rob, who was an unlocked character. Very difficult to unlock. So, a reason that I really loved this one and a lot of stuff that, before I get super distracted and actually, like, start really playing this one, there's, of course, all of the regular courses you can go through, the 4 main ones, which I really love the courses this time because we're really taking advantage of the dual screen of the DS.
Right.
We have 3D, actual 3D this time. None of that Mario Kart 64 nonsense where it's pseudo 3D.
Right.
The characters are 3D. I love the new items, the courses, and then of course I want to showcase something that I really love about this. You can snake.
Oh, that's right.
And I actually just screwed it up. So snaking is a technique that you can probably do in the other ones, but it's effectively doing this, going on a straightaway.
Oh, that's right.
And using this to skate back and just constantly boost so that you can catch up to everybody else. So using this technique and a few others, I got really good at this game. I actually beat every single one of the developer ghost trials. So there's, how there's ghost data you can race against in several of the other Mario Kart games?
Yes.
I think you could leave them yourself. So in this one, there is developer data in every single course, and you can race against the developer.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
yes,
that's right. Yes,
Nintendo developers actually put them in there themselves.
I see.
So this is also really cool. So I can use the bottom screen right now to try and line up my shot to try and hit Peach with that shell, which I missed, but like the bottom screen helps a ton in this.
That's giving you a really, just so much more information.
Yes, a huge advantage. There's so much to this.
Yeah, it looks like, because a lot of Mario Kart games before this really were innovating in different ways, but this one...
They were party games.
Yeah.
They were innovative in the party games. This one was almost like a technical improvement,
Yeah.
And in like every regard, like graphics, of course, as I mentioned, we aren't really getting to it yet, but since these are 3D courses, they're going to start getting crazy later. This is a figure 8. It's very slowly going up and down, but you can tell that it is actually going to be going up down hills, around tight bends, and you're going to need this precision where you can select your racers, select your carts to go with them, and this is kind of where modern Mario Kart comes into its own.
I can see that, yeah.
And you can see they took away a lot of the control here, because I think playing with the D-pad is the way to play Mario Kart.
Yeah, because when we played Mario Kart 8, when I brought it over, I think you whipped out your the Pro Controller, and you were actually using that instead.
I had to use D-pad because of this. Because, like, I've never 100% of the game harder than I have 100% of this game.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, to play against the developer, the Ghost Files, I'm telling you, it's super hard. You get, I think you start with 3 boosts.
Yeah,
which is basically used for figuring out where on each lap can you use some sort of skip or something with a boost.
Interesting.
And save them and snake as much as you possibly can. But yeah, so anyway, it's a ton of fun. I love this one so much. It's such a happy place game for me. But that's why we're going to be playing it while talking about other games, because I can totally ignore it. So here's a good example of a course that's really cool. With the 3D, you're skidding around these waterfalls, which do push and pull you.
Right, and there's like different layers to the road. Yeah, there's a high road and a low road, literally.
Yeah, did you see that? There you go. You can shut. But yeah, paying attention to the bottom screen, you can actually try and line up your shots. I threw a banana in the foreground to have it land on Peach.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, because we did get stuff like that with something like Mario Kart Double Dash, which came out before. But the fact that this is on a handheld is, I think, the biggest impressive thing for me.
With a backlit full color screen. I mean, compare it to like the Game Boy Advance, right? Like this is so much better than anything that I would have played. And one of my favorite portable games that I had was Mario Kart Super Circuit. And oh my god,
that is a really good game, but it's more of like a sequel, a direct sequel almost to Super Mario Kart, where
it really is. And another big thing that Mario Kart Super Circuit also did that this brings back is extra courses where you can play old courses from the other games. And they have whole new circuits. Oh, I love it. I love it.
I can see why you really are attached to this. This passed me by when I had my DS back in the day.
Yeah. I can see people passing this one by, but I'm so happy that I picked this one up because this was such an obsessive game. I love it so much. We're probably going to play on just 100cc for the rest of this because I'm obviously going to try and talk the whole time.
Yeah, I'll get us through the list here.
Yeah, a lot of these I think you're going to be talking a lot for anyway.
I think so too. So why don't we go ahead and rapid fire the PC stuff before we get into the big one for PC?
Okay, yeah. There's also another thing they added into this. I don't want to keep going back, but I'm noticing it. So if you this is in the other Mario Kart games now, but if you coast behind somebody, you can pick up their draft.
Oh yeah, you can slipstream.
Slipstream, yep, and you'll get like an extra boost just from riding behind somebody. I tried to do it twice and ended up getting myself hit.
I can't think of any other Mario Kart before this that actually implemented
No, this is the first one.
Okay, well there you go.
I love the extra, because this was something like in Super Circuit. I was playing this all the time, trying to like imagine like I get to jump over stuff, because there was a jump button then, and there is now. And imagine like, oh, there's more depth to the game. And now, of course, that there actually is and jumping matters, you can actually have, like, physics. It's so great.
Nice.
So great. I love it. Anyway, let's actually move on to PC, I promise.
To get the rapid-fire stuff out of the way, what came out this year was actually one of my favorite PC shooters, Fear.
Yeah.
So do you know anything about Fear?
First-person shooter. It's like a crazy psychological horror game.
Yes, it is. It's made by Monolith, the same guys who made...
Not to be confused with Monolith Soft.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, these are the guys who made the Blood series and would eventually go on to make the Shadow of Middle-earth games. So, you play as like a part of a paranormal division of some sort of a secret society for the government, and...
I believe you realize something is very wrong.
Right, because you were having immediately like these weird psychotic visions of like people who are like messed up, blood's everywhere, and this little girl in a red dress who is called Alma, and you don't know what your connection is to her and to like the bad guy.
She has a cute show on PBS Kids that my daughter likes to watch.
Wow, what a turnaround in career.
Yep.
Man, good for her.
Yeah, look at her.
But the big thing that this game did that everyone really knows this game for is the bullet time. So
yes.
you know, yeah. So
it's like a brand new mechanic that like pretty much any first-person shooter anymore has implemented.
Exactly. So Max Payne kind of really put it into like a shooter style, but this is the one I think that perfected it, because you can use it like a sort of resource to determine like how much you actually want to use and not use.
Right.
And plus, the enemies in this are extraordinarily smart, and you can hear them over their intercom.
Yes, they would like flank you and stuff. I think that was the big thing people were praising at the time, though. Like, I'm pretty sure the bullet time was implemented because they were trying to make the gameplay more fair.
Yeah, because these guys...
real time, like reality, you can immediately like turn 360 if you had to.
And then all of a sudden there's some dude in your face with a shotgun and you're dead.
Right, but in
class
gameplay, you still only turn as fast as your stomach could allow.
Exactly, and so it's a really cool and unique feature that I wish more games would like build more upon, because there are a lot of modern games do have like radio chatter that you can listen in on.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's near as advantageous in some games as it is in something like Fear. But
I see that.
Yeah, but it's a really cool game.
Yeah, this is supposed to be rapid fire as well. So anyway,
that's why I'm trying to move on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good game. Check it out.
Yeah, the next one we have is called Facade.
Fear available on Steam?
Fear is available on Steam, the entire trilogy, actually.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's very easy to come by, and it's on sale an awful lot. Because Warner Brothers wants you to buy this game and get more nickels and dimes out of you.
Of course.
But anyway, Facade is the next game we're talking about. It's an indie game that I don't know if a lot of people even know, or even back then actually were aware of.
I bet we could have probably fooled people. I think I was joking about this before we started.
Yeah,
we probably could have fooled everybody and like made a playthrough of this and said that the game just came out this week.
Yeah, no, and I would have believed it. But so it is.
Well, you would have believed it.
Yeah, if I didn't know that this game existed.
Oh, you didn't know, yeah. I was going to say, you know that.
I know what this game is, yes. So, this is an example of basically an interactive fiction game, where you are a friend to this couple in their apartment, and you can actually type in a text parser in real time and actually have conversations with people who are voiced by real voice actors.
It's amazing.
And
I mean, the only thing holding it down that everyone makes fun of is the MS Paint style terrible art. But but that who cares about that when like the mechanics are so like revolutionary?
And they actually interact with you and actually react in real time. So you could basically tell them like all these swears and making fun of them, and they'll get mad and actually push you out of their apartment, close the door, and that's the game. Or if you actually really dig into it, you can start seeing the cracks in their relationship and actually talk with them and learn more about that. And it's not a very long game. You can get through it in like in under an hour easy. But it's the fact that it's got the real-time conversations and that the game actually reacts to you and has multiple endings, which I don't know of any other game aside from like maybe another like indie game, but that's a turn-based kind of text parser game.
Right, we haven't had any. No one's really been making games of this genre for a long time.
No.
And this is like a huge evolution that surprisingly nobody's really done anything with anymore.
It's complex, so how do you pull that out into like a longer game?
Yeah,
you know?
I know.
And make it make sense and work.
The closest thing we have anymore are those games that are like, choose the next thing that happens, or the Until Dawn horror kind of choose how to react situation.
Or
games.
Oxenfree, where you actually have different bubbles you can select and in real time actually say what you want to say given the bubbles. That's all I have for that, so let's move on to Club Penguin.
Club Penguin, you heard of it?
Who remembers Club Penguin? I never played it.
Well, I never played it.
Yeah.
But I remember, actually, I don't even know if I remember, I think I remember watching a couple people play it in like classrooms, but
See, I remember the memes that came out about it. It's like trying to figure out the right words that are not swears, but can still get you banned, and that
and people said all sorts of creative. So that's really all the game was known for. If we're gonna rapid fire through this one, it's the fact that
it's the memes at this point because the server.
Just look up Club Penguin.
Yeah, Disney killed the game not that long ago.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But
that game was so funny.
Yeah.
It was also a good like mingling game. We really should briefly describe what it was. It was like you create a little cute penguin avatar and you live in a little penguin world with other penguin characters.
Yeah, you earn currency to get like certain cosmetics or go to certain places, play some mini games. It was a cool little children's like light MMO, which not too many people have anymore. There's not a lot. They just get like they're mobile games now and they're predatory. I feel like
they are. Yes.
It was really cool at the time.
At its heart, it's a very good, a very good idea.
And it came from a good place.
It absolutely
from the developers, yeah.
People took it to a hilarious new place, and I love it for that.
Oh, yeah.
However, it's a shame that it's gone because the people, or really the kids, are missing out on something there.
Exactly.
But granted, no kids were really playing that anymore, but still.
But regardless, let's move on to the big heavy hitter of the year, I think, for the PC.
PC?
Civilization 4.
Yeah. Now, obviously, Civilization has existed at this point. We're already playing the fourth one, but
yeah.
still, this is kind of where it's coming into its own.
Yeah, Civ 3 is the first one I remember playing on our family's like 2001 Dell or HP system. But this is the one that really helps to modernize the series. So instead of going from like a hexagonal movement, like a grid on the map, it's squares, which can kind of take some of the strategy of like enemy placement and like unit placement. However, it adds a lot in the terms of it's streamlining a lot of things, especially in the fact that it adds more like wonders of the world that you can build. You can actually build profits to go for like a religious win. Because in order to win the game, there's 3 ways you can do it. Either military conquest, religious conquest, basically
It's the same thing.
Yeah, almost. Or, 4, given that there's also a science conquest and space conquest. Who gets to space first wins. So, you know, so it adds like a different way of like winning the game. It's still the same premise of you start out with a single city in the Stone Age and you're erecting a civilization around it by maintaining resources, being diplomatic, and praying to God that Gandhi doesn't bomb you with an ICBM later into the game. I think that's the biggest draw for me, is that the game streamlined a lot of aspects to it, but in doing so, it also really allowed for people like me to really strategize and figure out, okay, what tech tree do I want to focus on now? Or, you know, it's like, what civilization do I want to start as in order to be able to kind of get the win I want? And so the fact that you can earn like culture points through the various wonders of the world, and all the events in the game, by the by, are narrated by Leonard Nimoy of Spock fame.
Yep.
And it is, oh my God, it's honey to my ears. Just listen to that man go, "This is the Great Pyramid that was built by here." It's like, and he's like quotes like these famous like passages from like books or famous world leaders. And it adds like a certain level of levity and gravitas to the game where you didn't really have that before. Yeah, you can build different wonders of the world, and once you build that wonder, no one else can build it.
Oh, okay.
So it you know, especially if you're going for like a culture win, you really want to start pumping out a lot of those world wonders and like trying to find resources to be able to build them. And so it's a very multi-layered game. It always has been, but I think with some of the extras that you can put in there, it allows you to really kind of play the way you want in a way that I think the 3 did. Because this is my limited knowledge of like earlier games, because they were like on DOS. I didn't play on DOS.
Right. Exactly. It's kind of why we were saying this is really where everybody gets their first chance to taste Civilization.
Exactly. And, you know, the online multiplayer, I think, is still a thing for this game. It's easily...
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's available on Steam and I think GOG.com.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so you can still get this one. The more recent games weren't just shoved to the side just because of the new ones were out. And I really appreciate, as much as I don't like 2K games, I really appreciate the fact that they've still at least got support for the older titles in this franchise.
I agree.
Anything you wanted to add about Civ 4 or anything?
No, unfortunately I didn't get a chance to play this one on hand.
Okay.
This is still kind of like a franchise that I can appreciate from afar, but it's not one that I'm jumping at and wanting to play myself.
Yeah, it's addictive, and once it clicks, it really clicks, and
I'm kind of scared of that, too.
Yeah, it's that one more turn. Oh, okay, well, if I do this one more turn, I can get this profit to go to my enemy cities and convert them to my religion, and I can absorb their people and their culture, and it's 5 in the morning.
Yeah. It's one of those games.
Yeah, so we're going to move on next to one of our favorite systems.
Yeah, well, and we're only going to unfortunately talk about one game from it, but the game that we almost played today, but you might understand why we chose not to. Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube.
Resident Evil.
Originally believe it or not, supposedly a
GameCube exclusive. Because of the Capcom 5 deal. That was so
which everyone remembers.
Everyone remembers because they were ported to nothing else.
Yep.
No Resident Evil 4?
Actually, I think only one game ended up being an actual GameCube exclusive, isn't that right?
Yeah, Piano 3.
Mm-hmm.
So
right,
it's like
yeah, oh boy.
Project number 3 is what it... It's like, really, Capcom?
Mm-hmm.
But I see why, though, because it's like, look, they have a groundbreaking title on their hands. They are going to make all the money that they can out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Nintendo's contract, screw it, whatever.
Yeah.
So, what can you say about Resi 4 that hasn't been said?
Well, I reviewed it.
Yes, you did, actually.
So you could just check that out, shameless plug.
Uh-huh.
But no, this is a big change from Resident Evil in the past.
Oh my god, yes.
And yeah, if we're gonna say anything, big thing I would say is now we're no longer doing the fixed camera perspectives. We're now over the shoulder, which helps a lot with horror.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the world feels much genuinely, I would say, scarier than the first three. It's a lot less, though it is still goofy and funny.
Oh yeah.
It's much scarier.
When it wants to be, it can like really chill you to the bone.
Mm-hmm.
First time I remember playing it, my friend who's big into Resident Evil and survival horror games actually had this game on GameCube. So I remember seeing him at his house with some of our other friends, and he let me play it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I never played a Resident game before. And, you know, I didn't understand that this is like, I was thrown off because of the camp of it. And it's like, oh, this doesn't feel right. What's going on? And then you get to the opening village.
Yeah.
And then the game throws you into a siege situation where you have to think on your feet and collect whatever supplies you can, avoid all the ganados as best as you can.
Yeah, and then of
just
course
try
you
and
try and run and survive, and you see
That's
that
not easy.
shotgun sitting up on the shelf. But if you touch that shotgun, you just spawned the chainsaw guy.
Yep. It's only a few seconds later. You grab it, you start feeling good about yourself. You're taken
okay,
down.
got it, good. I don't have to just fight with this knife and a pistol.
Exactly.
And kicking these people.
But then the game camera cuts.
Yeah, and you're playing in and on top of these buildings. Oh, there's so much. The set pieces are... It still goes through the same Resident Evil tropes that it did before, so luckily it very much still fits in the universe.
Absolutely.
But yeah, this is defining so much, not just for Resident Evil, but for like horror games in general.
And just gaming.
Yes.
Because of its over-the-shoulder camera perspective, every third-person action game that we have anymore basically has an over-the-shoulder camera perspective, and we have Resi 4 to thank for that, for basically figuring out how to get that working in that kind of a game.
Yeah.
And the only thing that
It's a marvel that it even works.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, just think about it. How you tell somebody, like, oh, well, hold on. How about instead of seeing through where your eyes would be, you're seeing about 10 feet behind the character's back, and their back is taking up a ton of screen space.
Yeah.
How on earth can you sell that? Yeah.
Yeah, but it does. And
it works so well.
And
helps with nausea, too. Like, I can suddenly play this, whereas first person, no.
Right, because you can at least focus on some sort of focal point, like Leon himself, or his shoulder.
Yeah.
Or when you're like trying to aim one of his weapons, you can follow the dot. And so
Launch
that
your
really,
reticle, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's really helpful. And like you said, the story just gets more insane as it goes on. Set pieces get better and more crazy. And honestly, my first time playing it, I didn't quite understand how to deal with it, but actually escorting Ashley across this island is actually doable and can be enjoyable.
It can be.
It can be.
It can be.
It can, being the key term.
Yeah.
Especially
it's like one of the only crimes this game commits, but there are much worse escort missions I've played.
Oh gosh,
So
yeah, and for a 2005
that's what
game,
I think you were trying to say.
Yeah.
It could have been worse.
Yeah, for a 2005 game, phenomenal.
Yes.
Although I will never get help, Leon, out of my head, no matter what.
Help me, Leon!
Yeah, I even had to get some of those audio clips for my episode because I was like, they're so freaking irritating.
Yeah, and the fact that you can actually play as Ashley for like a mid-game chapter.
Yeah.
And it actually plays like an old-style Resi game where you can't fight back and all that.
Now, as good as the remake is, if we're going to touch on that quickly before we move on, I still think the original is worth playing. It didn't completely become obsolete. There are still like some whole levels and set pieces that are just not there.
No, and it's like...
Also, a lot of the camp is gone.
Yeah, it's still campy in some regards, but it's modern day acceptable levels of camp.
Right, yeah.
But it's like,
Yeah,
The camp
it's
is part of the enjoyment.
Leon and Luis are not as sexist anymore.
Yeah,
there's a lot of course, stuff that doesn't age well, but
No.
that's the funny stuff you expect in camp. You know, you're laughing at it. You know.
Yeah, and it
But
kind
of course,
knows that it's
no
a little
big
weird.
company wants to put a huge company like Capcom anymore wants to put their name on something like that.
No, because that could hurt their sales. They want to try to appeal more
Genuinely
because games are so much bigger and more expensive now.
You're right. You want to take no chances, so you don't want to. Yeah, have
you
it.
lose something, but you gain a lot more in this remake. And I
Yeah.
still want to play it. I loved Resi 2 and 3 remakes, honestly. But
Yeah.
But you know, that's all I really have to add. Ashley is kind of interesting, and the memes around it are fun. The gameplay is phenomenal, and I
think
just
the
love
idea of
story in general.
just Las Plagas in general, as opposed to the generic zombies, is
Yes.
really cool and creepy.
Oh, yeah. And I love the fact that at the beginning of the game is trying to bash it into your skull. A zombie? No, that's not a zombie. Like it's like trying to tell you these aren't zombies, and you're
Yeah.
like,
Right,
Sure.
sure. They're
Yeah.
parasites, which allows them to do all sorts of crazy, cool, creative monstrosity things,
like
which Resident Evil is so famous for.
Uh-huh.
Instead of it just being, oh, it was just an experiment by Umbrella, now it's just an experience by
parasite
Umbrella.
is
But the
messing.
but the parasite is either making someone completely invincible unless you can see through them with like an X-ray scope and shoot the thing out,
Yep.
or they'll form into like a giant titan, or
Yep.
their head will explode and tentacles with blades will shoot out, just like out of the Parasite manga. That was about the same. That came out after, I think.
Yeah, it came out after, and it was an alien who basically
those were
chooses
aliens.
a dude's hand.
Anyway,
as
it's
his-
awesome.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah, Parasite is also good. Read that.
Anyway, so we're gonna move on to the Nintendo DS.
Yep,
As
so-
we were already talking about Mario Kart, this game is a frickin' winner. If you can't tell, I
This game
adore
is a
this
winner,
one.
Yeah.
But there's a few other games, just a few, that we do want to talk about on here.
Yes.
How about we do the other big one first, and then we'll do a couple rapid
Yeah, we can
fires.
change it up, sure.
Sure.
Let's talk about Nintendogs.
Man, I considered playing this for you today.
Aww.
It is such a...
I would have got too
God.
wrapped up in the cuteness of it all.
But also, the downside is I don't know what's gonna happen if I boot my Nintendogs game after, 20 years? And I haven't fed or watered
oh no.
or given them,
yeah. It's-
milk, and I don't know what's gonna happen.
It's just a dog skeleton that greets you and says, "Look what you did."
No. I
So-
hope not.
For Nintendogs, this was like a really big game at the time, and it was like around the launch. Ish? No, not around the. Well,
It
in
was
Japan,
very
I think
close.
It was around the
very
launch,
close, yeah. So this, if you want to call this a series, because Nintendo released others, they also
Yeah.
did Dogs and Cats. They did a few other Nintendogs variants.
Yeah, that
But
into the 3DS.
I believe it never left the DS and 3DS.
No, it didn't.
Which is unbelievable. Like, Nintendo could make a direct where the only big announcement that they are publishing is a new Nintendogs for Switch, and I promise that direct is a winner.
Oh my god.
It's
I'd be all
making
over
them
that game.
millions.
Yep.
Millions. It might honestly overtake some of the other biggest sellers, and the Switch, likely this year is going to be getting its sequel. The
More
Switch
than
2
likely,
is likely
yeah.
happening this year. And you're telling me you put a Nintendogs on it now?
No.
Or if it launches
Yes.
with the new one,
That's what I was gonna say.
that's what you do. Yeah, that's a system seller. So we should probably describe what Nintendogs is and
It's a
why
pet-
it is so freaking great.
It's a pet simulator.
Yep.
So it's like a
But you have a
Tamagotchi, but
touchscreen.
it's more real. Yes. And
Think about it. You
touchscreen.
have a touchscreen on the DS, which is like, how do you sell the touchscreen part of the Nintendo DS? Because obviously in Mario Kart, I'm not using it.
No,
You know,
you don't
so
need it.
yeah, you don't need it. You could technically control where Mario's walking in Mario Kart 64, but honestly, that sucked. So and everyone just defaulted to the D-pad anyway.
Yeah. It's
So,
more comfortable for a
yeah,
lot of
so
games.
not only are you accessing the touchscreen, but you're also using the microphone. So you can
Yes.
actually teach. You start the game by going to like a little pet adoption area. You pick out a puppy, and you name the puppy, and you actually can teach it its name. It will learn its name from you speaking to it, and it's not like one of your mobile apps that's spying on you. You actually have to hold something down for the game to listen.
Yeah, and it's not like the DS could hold all that information.
Exactly,
anyway.
no.
Yeah.
So not only could you teach it its name, you can teach it tricks by telling it, "Oh, good job when you do this," or tell it, "Okay, give me your paw,
Come here.
roll over," and
Yeah.
you can slowly teach it more and more complicated tricks in order to take them to dog shows, and you could take them on walks.
Buy them toys.
You had to save up money which you earn money from winning at the dog shows, and then you can get better and better stuff. You can win better houses. Think Animal Crossing. Basically, it's like one of those do-nothing kind of games where you're really just grinding for nothing.
Right.
Or to eventually get yourself onto a beach.
Right. The whole point is that you're just there to take care of a cute dog.
Yeah.
And
the other stuff is there to give you a goal.
Yes, and it's all controlled by the touchscreen. You actually have to use the stylus for everything. So,
yes,
like,
you can pet the dog. You teach them all sorts of stuff.
Wash
with that.
the dog.
You hold on to the leash when you're walking. All sorts of stuff. Oh man, it takes so much advantage of that touchscreen.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't remember that the Switch kind of has a touchscreen.
It does.
It is a touchscreen. Like, open up some of your games and try touching on the menus, and you'd be shocked. It works.
I can't imagine playing Super Mario Maker 2 on the Switch without using the touchscreen.
Man, like...
I will take it out
I
of the
can't,
dock
I
and
do
that.
Feel like I wouldn't want to play and smear up my screen by doing because there's no stylus or anything with the Switch. Like, the Switch 2 would have to come with some sort of stylus so you can actually interact with the dog, because otherwise you are smearing your finger on your screen, and then of course the next person that comes behind you is complaining that they can't see because your grimy fingerprints are all over it.
But I had to build my level. Honestly,
wonderful game.
Yeah, wonderful.
It also did the Pokemon thing. Did you know that? Where they sold multiple versions of the same game, but they had different breeds.
There was like a gold lab, a poodle, and there was like a
Dalmatian.
Shiba Inu.
Eventually, you could unlock those dogs, I believe.
Yeah.
So it wasn't completely like Pokemon. It was like, which ones are you starting with?
Yeah, certain cartridges had certain dogs, but you could unlock them all if nothing else. Yeah. So it wasn't that greedy. Because, you know, Nintendo wants you to actually have a puppy.
Yeah, well, they did. Not anymore, they don't.
No puppies for you until you pay. Give us more money. But anyway, anything else you want to add about Nintendogs for rapid fire?
I love it, and I'm scared to turn my game on again.
oh, that's fair.
I don't know what will happen.
So, thinking of what might have happened with Nintendogs, let's look at Trauma Center Under the Knife, because we might need to do operation on that puppy.
That segue was gross, Zach. You are going in, some sort of transition jail.
You know what?
Anyway, so the Mad Lads over at Atlas are developing, or rather, let's just say they look at the DS and unlike some of the horn dogs who would look at it and say, what kind of games can I create in a sort of visual novel fashion where you have a touchscreen? Well, no, that's actually a WarioWare minigames kind of game. You would think it's...
I know, it's so weird.
It looks like it's a porn game, but no, it's not.
But regardless.
Anyway, so yeah, so you ask the crazy guys at Atlas, they're like, what if you were a surgeon and you had to operate with that touchscreen?
And the stylus was your scalpel.
And every other tool.
Yeah.
It's everything. So this game is pretty genius in that regard for coming up with like a cool new thing you could do with that touchscreen.
Yes.
However, it is probably the hardest game on the DS.
I would agree. I tried it, and I could not get past the second or third surgery I think I was at. Yeah.
I made it to the fourth, and I could not beat it. It was insanely hard.
Yeah.
And I was playing on the 3DS XL, so I had a bigger screen to work with, too.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Like, oh my god. Playing this on the original DS with a tiny screen?
Ooh, no
It is so precise. Like, you make one little mistake, and your patient is losing blood.
Yeah.
Another thing that really makes this game so hard is you basically have to understand what's happening the entire time and what you're gonna have to do as it goes on, because it's so hard. And the weird superpower that you have that we haven't mentioned. That it will not save you, even though it really should.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, the power is OP, but because it's a game, it has to limit it. Yeah.
So yeah, your power is basically, imagine bullet time mode, except you're a surgeon. You can hyper fixate on something. You can see right where the problems are, and you can operate super fast because time is moving slowly.
Yep.
That kind of thing, and you can activate it like once per mission. But it's not going to save you.
No,
the game is so hard.
Those little insect, like, infection bugs are relentless.
Oh, God. So many steps you have to go through, and one little mistake of cutting in the wrong direction, and you screwed yourself.
It was a small series. There's
a few on the Wii.
Yeah, there was 2 entries on the DS and, like, 1 or 2 on the Wii, yeah. So it didn't leave this generation of games, which is a bit of a shame, but again... I don't know how many people are clamoring for a new one of these. You know?
I am all for Atlas making new stuff, you know, like what we have coming out, the Unicorn Overlord with Vanillaware, Metaphor ReFantazio. There's a demo for Unicorn Overlord, by the way. I was just playing it the other day. But anyway, yeah, I'm down with them making new stuff. I know they like switching genres up, but Trauma Center is a great idea. But, man, they may need to make one that's babied up so I can beat it.
Look, I'm not actually going to be an actual surgeon. Just let me play the visual novel, okay?
Anyway, that was supposed to be rapid fire.
Yeah, that was supposed to be, and hopefully this one will be rapid fire.
We'll try.
Super Princess Peach.
Yeah, you thought Princess Peach Showtime was the first time that the princess got her own limelight in the spotlight? Nope. And we've talked about it before, but anyway, this is a side-scrolling platformer where Princess Peach is the protagonist rescuing Mario.
Yep.
And with the touchscreen, because of course we have to integrate the touchscreen somehow. She has multiple like emotion powers that you can tap into with something that like gives her all sorts of abilities. Like she's like angry, she can stomp and like destroy stuff around her, but you only have so much of this emotion ability. I think you kind of build it up. You use this all these different powers in order to make it through the levels. Like I think the joy one could heal you. The crying one makes her run super fast, but also and water plants with tears.
Yep.
But she's uncontrollable at that point. So it does interesting stuff. It's a really cool, interesting platformer. Unfortunately, nowadays I've seen people complain about it like, oh, it's being sexist to women because
they can't control their emotions.
Oh, shut up. That's not what it was like back then. People loved it. It's a cute game too.
It is cute.
I am still sad to this day that Princess Peach in Smash Brothers doesn't use Parry the Paracel. Yeah, instead she just has some generic little parasol. Like what? Like Princess Peach has a canonical one. I am never gonna forget about Parry in the same way I will never forget the Koopa Kids. I will bring it up at every opportunity. Anyway, you're right. That is a rapid fire. Let's move on to a brand new console.
Let's move on to the PS2. Why don't we?
Yeah.
It's still getting really great games.
Did Resident Evil 4 make it to the PS2 this year?
I think it did either later this year or would have been in 2006.
It didn't make it long.
No, I think it was only like what, a 6-month thing.
Because I watched it. I remember playing it on PS2. I was like, it was on GameCube. Like, oh, it's supposed to be for GameCube.
Honestly, the GameCube version runs and looks a lot better, but the PS2 version is the more successful one, so you're going to easily find that more. But you want to just quickly talk about Destroy All Humans before we get into the big hitters?
Yeah, we have one rapid fire one, and we have like 5 or 6 big PS2 games. This is a big year for PS2.
Because even though the PS3 is on the horizon,
doesn't matter.
No, the PS2 is still getting phenomenal games.
Because, as we've mentioned in the past, developers need time to figure out a game system.
Yes.
And oh my goodness, they're figuring out the PS2 right now. So we're going to talk about Destroy All Humans really quickly because it wasn't originally on our list to talk about, but honestly, if you remember this year, you have to remember the ads for Destroy All Humans. This game permeated the year.
Oh yeah, no, I could not escape from it. It's like all the whole cow jokes, the anal probe jokes, and all that.
The ads were funny. Everything about it looks great.
The game is hysterical.
It is. It actually holds up too. Like a lot of times, like I remember tons of ads for like Attack and the Power of Juju, for example, right? Like one of those games that was heavily advertised and the game just didn't hold up very well.
No, really.
Destroy All Humans is actually really great, and it has a sequel that we'll probably never talk about, but still, it's there.
Yeah, it's an open world alien sim. We should probably say.
Yeah.
Where you play as what's his name, Crypto.
Yes, who is Invader Zim.
Yeah, he's voiced by the guy who does Invader Zim and Billy from Billy and Mandy. And Hell of a Boss, one of the imps from that web series as well, if you've been watching that.
Yes.
So the whole point is you're supposed to go down to the planet.
You have different missions each time in different places.
And just do missions,
Yep. And it's just mission-based. Sometimes you're in your ship and you're blowing stuff up with lasers. Other times you're running around on ground and you've got ridiculous guns and you've got to, just do whatever the requirement is in a set amount of time.
Do whatever your boss tells you to do, And it's actually
a good time. And there's a great remake by THQ Nordic.
Yes.
I did actually stream the entirety of it on my channel, so you can check that out. Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
Anyway, it's a fun game. Check it out.
We've got bigger fish to fry. Do you want to just get...
so really quick.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I just want to mention one little trick, something that kind of gets lost in later Mario Kart, something that I just did there without even thinking.
Yes.
So, you know the blooper that started from this game and it just became an item regular from this point on. So, the reason blooper was implemented that covers up your screen so that you can't see for a while, there's a bottom screen. The idea was you no longer play by looking at the top screen, try to race by looking at the bottom screen.
Yep.
But anymore, they just ported the blooper without even thinking about that whole aspect of, like, he was a genius addition to a DS Mario Kart.
Yeah,
but
he's just more of an annoyance in the
now ones. He's an annoyance. Like, here you have to, like, it's still totally fair. You just have to outsmart the game and figure out how you're going to play around stuff. Like, so I was driving up on a section where I knew there was a mushroom laying on the ground.
Yes.
But I was bloopered and I couldn't see. So I had to watch with the bottom screen and try and drive into it, avoid the crates, and boost my way through in order to get the ink off of me.
Exactly.
So it's really clever. I love this game.
Yeah.
Anyway, PS2. Who should I play as next, Zach? You want to pick a character?
Let's see. Did you already play as Dry Bones?
I did Dry Bones, Rob, and Yoshi.
Okay, why don't we do, Toad?
Oh, I'm the best! I'm the best!
I can't do it. Now we're gonna cut that out and talk about Shadow of the Colossus.
Shadow of the Colossus, gosh darn it.
Yeah.
I don't like this game.
I know you don't.
But I can still...
And I can understand why you don't.
However,
really
unlike some other... As we recently did a Hitbox talking about some of our least favorite games, it's not like I can't say anything nice about it.
Exactly,
The game does some really cool stuff. I just want more out of a game, but that's me. You know, like, I can boot up, like, Stardew Valley. I don't want this all to be about me. But, like...
I know, that's
how do you feel about Stardew Valley, for example?
I really like Stardew Valley a lot.
A lot of people love it, but I got so frustrated. Like, I just couldn't stand the...
Yeah.
Like, I got stressed out when the game was supposed to do the opposite. Anyway, yeah, like, some people are different, and this is one where I'm different, so I don't want that to pull you down. Zach, tell us all about Shadow of the Colossus.
All right.
Because to be fair, I haven't played PS2.
Right.
And I do want to.
And that's the thing, like, I played it in 2007, I think, around the...
Nice.
So
it had to have been amazing back
then.
then.
Dude, this is the game that helped change my perspective of video games. I really enjoyed them before, but after playing this one, I honestly thought, wow, I'm not entirely sure why I'm feeling so melancholy, but I've not played a game that made me feel this way. And so this is
game can make you feel something.
Yeah, not just joy or a rush of like, haha, yeah, I did the thing, I beat the game. Yeah, it's like, wahoo. No, this actually made me feel like, did I play a game where I'm the bad guy? Because honestly, in a way...
Well, other games absolutely would have made you ask that question, but I would say more of like asking the real questions, saying like, is what I'm doing right? Is it justified? How am I supposed to... Is this not only like worth it for the person we're trying to... We should explain what the game is.
Right, so it is an action-adventure game that takes place on the Forbidden Land, where... Your whole goal is to try to revive. It's never explicitly said, but I always...
none of it's really explained to you.
No, but I always believe...
You kind of show up in a land, you bring...
with a dead woman.
A dead woman. You put her on an altar, and you start going off on a journey, exploring the world to defeat these titans called the Colossus. And each one you take down, you get a hint at where another one is.
Yes, the entity that lives in this region, the Doorman, tells you that he will bring this woman back to life, but you have to destroy those colossi. And you really don't have a choice, because obviously in game it's
well, of course, that's all you have to progress the game.
And so the game, I don't think is really so much about the action as more of it's like a puzzle game. Because you kind of have to puzzle your way around the ruins
and especially
of this broken
around
world.
the colossi themselves when you get into combat.
Yes, because
it's hard to describe. So think like Monster Hunter, where you can actually like third person explore and control yourself, but you're going up against some giant thing. But unlike Monster Hunter, you're not equipped. The game doesn't even tell you have a bow, which you need as early as the second Colossus to defeat. And you need to figure out how to... Yeah, you had to figure out how you were supposed to beat all these things.
Exactly, because you definitely get the feeling that Wander is definitely not a soldier. Yeah, he is not a sword. He does not hold his sword in the proper way. It's kind of loose in his hands.
He's a klutz.
Yeah.
Like, I jokingly... but half seriously compared it to Goat Simulator for its controls, because there's a lot of ragdoll. He's very slippery. He is he falls off of things all the time. He's no
especially
soldier.
at the beginning, because you have a very small health bar and a very small circle of fatigue that you have to work with. So you have to really puzzle your way up the Colossus to use your sword to highlight his weak points.
Yeah, you have to climb all over to even find the weak points. They're not even apparent.
No, exactly. So it's like the sword has the ability to locate the Colossus and to locate where their weak points are, with which you actually figure out how to use the environment.
Within reason.
Yeah, and the Colossus to be able to climb them, to be able to get to the weak points and kill them.
Or figure out their gimmick of how they work so that you can knock them over or something and then attack them.
Like one of the early Colossi, I think the second one actually is the one where you're going into like these burial mounds against this horse Colossus.
The second one is near the waterfalls, like a giant crab guy.
The third or fourth Colossus, where you're in these burial mounds and like this horse guy with like these stone braids is going around.
Yeah.
And
the one that chases you?
Yes, and you hide in the burial mound and you use your bow and arrow to draw its attention for it to like get on top of the burial mound and start ducking its head down so you can grab its stone braid and then start climbing.
Right.
And honestly, the game is huge. Like, it makes you feel small, and for me it was a good thing because it's such a dead world.
Yeah.
And it made me question, okay, what was this place? Why is this place so forbidden? It's so dead, but it's so beautiful. And I think that was the thing, like, I really got, not invested, but I just was submerged in the atmosphere, which I think this game does the best. Like you said, it's not only the scale, but, like, through art style and through lighting and sound effects, really makes you feel like it's like, this is a dead world with these innocent creatures almost that you're just told just to go
whatever
kill.
they are. Yeah,
you don't know what they are. They're just stone and flesh.
Some of them have weapons, though. So
and
it's not like they're completely benevolent. Yeah,
right. But it's mainly self-defense. Like you're in their territory.
For the
they're
most part, I think so. Yeah.
So
some of them just straight up are animals. Some are even repeats, which I found really disappointing.
Yeah, as the game goes on, I will admit that some of the Colossi designs or Colossus designs are a bit lacking, and like certain mechanics are kind of reused, but not always in interesting ways.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the problem with Team Ico is that they are very good about concepts, and they're very good about like how they.
Oh yeah, it's a wonderful idea.
Yes. But the execution wasn't always spot on, but I wasn't playing this for the gameplay itself. I was playing to explore a world and to try to bring this girl back to life. And honestly, at the end, once you figure out why this land is forbidden, and why you shouldn't have done what you did, technically, you kind of understand, oh wow, it recontextualizes everything like a good story should.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about with some of the Metal Gear games. Like, and how their stories
I wouldn't put it that far, but it's similar.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to play the remake, but from the sounds of
I kind of don't want you to ruin this purity you have with that game.
Right, because the way it sounds like this remake isn't a great remake. Like, it didn't take the problems out. It just kind of built upon them. Like, Blue Point almost had to be almost exactly faithful to the original.
But the graphics aren't even...
No, the art style doesn't
It looks
look
almost
good.
the same. No, and the screenshots that they advertised the remake with aren't even honest. I went to some of those places in game and I looked one for one. I'm like, this looks nothing like what they showed me.
Yeah,
everything is gray, washed out. The textures, the models, this is actual false advertising.
Whenever you want to borrow the PS2 version, I will let you
Our
guys borrow
PS2 is
it.
really janky.
Oh,
I'd probably
that's
just have to emulate the darn thing, even
That's
though I
right.
don't know how I would possibly do that. Anyway,
how would you do that?
They should probably move on. I have reviewed Shadow of the Colossus, and I don't like it. But there's still good stuff. Like I love the games that are inspired by this game, but I don't like this game. Like
That's
I can
fair.
like the stuff that's inspired by Shenmue and say Shenmue is a hot pile of garbage.
It's an acquired taste at this point.
Yeah, at the
you're
very
modern
least,
and back
Shenmue
to it.
3 is a hot pile of garbage.
That's fair. I haven't played that one yet. I like the first one a lot, and I have yet to get to the second one. But anyway, regardless, we're not talking about Shenmue.
Forget Shenmue.
We're talking about Guitar Hero now.
Guitar Hero. This is another game that permeated the whole freaking year.
Oh my god, especially with the third game just blowing up. But
you said that right when I hit a bomb and fall into a pit. No, if there was any game that completely defined the entire year Dude, Guitar Hero.
Guitar Hero.
Yeah, so this game was so impactful. I considered having this for a moment being the game that we play today, but obviously we can't because of the music.
Yeah, we would get coffee struck
Which is the big thing. So, yeah, there is a unique controller that you would play with this on whatever platform.
Yep.
And people do some crazy stuff with, like, not quite speed runs, but they have, like, record holders and all sorts of I don't know how they do their records with Guitar Heroes, but this is still alive today.
Oh, absolutely. It's
And,
a plastic guitar with 5 struts and the little strumming bar.
buttons.
Yes.
Right, so 1 button per finger.
Yes.
Oh.
And it's a rhythm game where you're actually playing the guitar in these
And you're playing
punk and
actual...
metal games.
Yeah, well, all sorts of them. So they made... Like, some of them were just, like, generic, what you would expect out of, like, a Just Dance. They made some that were, like, just Aerosmith. My brother had one.
Yeah, that was one of the later games. I don't remember what the playlist is in the original. I came in Guitar Hero 3. The one that
where
had,
they just kept doing more and more.
Yeah, the one that had Dragon Force in it, which actually introduced me to Dragon Force.
A lot of people, me too.
I freaking love Dragon Force as a result. Anyway, that's not anything.
Yeah, I wish they could actually perform any of their songs live.
Yeah, oh gosh, yeah, but
Liars.
regardless, the first
Just
one
because they were
is-
like the legend in Guitar Hero. Like, you can't
absolutely.
play this. Also, I think Trogdor was in there too.
It was, yes.
From Homestar Runner,
With
if you're
this-
too young.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Why you gotta make me feel old?
Just in case! I don't want them to feel left out.
But regardless, yeah, the first playlist of this game was very much inspired by like punk, heavy metal, and like kind of almost indie kind of stuff. Like it didn't start going more mainstream until like the second and third game, but
Yeah, and even by
Yeah.
then, you call it mainstream, but a lot of people who I knew who really liked it were even saying it was out of the picture by that point.
yeah, right. But
It was just the fact that you could do it, and then inspired, like, what was the band?
Rock
Rock Band, all those
DJ
other...
Hero,
Yeah, lots of other imitators that were good.
like Christian Faith Hero or something like that, where you played like
What?
Christian. Yeah, there was one that was just like Christian music and rock.
That's hilarious.
I never played it, so I can't tell you about its quality, but you know, it's built off of the open Guitar Hero engine, so it's like
Okay,
yeah,
whatever, man.
Anything else you want to add about Guitar Hero besides it being everywhere and inspiring like an empire, a short-lived empire?
A lot of people assume that I really like this game because it is half and the logo font of the original Ocarina Hero
yeah.
logo and title. That's what it was from. So Ocarina Hero, the idea was like, well, one, it was just combining games together and making a logo that looked fun. Completely stealing the logo from Guitar Hero, but making it like, oh, what if you were Link, freestyle playing Ocarina and playing music, like that was the whole joke. But I didn't even like. My brother loved Guitar Hero. I was terrible at it.
Me too. I can only do like the first, like the 4-finger mode. I can't do any of the other ones.
Yeah, I was no good at it. I'm no good at rhythm games in general.
Same.
Yep. So yeah, I don't have that much other than that. Other than to continuously quash that little thing. I got constant comments asking about when the Guitar Hero videos were coming. They're like, no, I actually don't care for the game.
Well, if you don't care about Guitar Hero, how much do you care about God of War?
God of War, you know what? So, I played this whole thing with Kim.
That's right, you did.
Yep, on the channel, so you can check that out, shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
And I've actually not reviewed it yet. Now, we're talking about the original God of War, obviously, not that remake that has nothing to do with it, and I can't even really say remake because it's a completely different game, and it's taking place after the fact.
Yeah, it's a continuation, which is interesting, but yeah, set in a completely different mythology. So,
If you're watching this, you can finally take a look at the 3D Rainbow Road, by the way.
yes.
We're finally getting a good look at this.
So,
I love the spiral in this
God
one.
of War is a hack and slash action adventure game created by David
famous idiot, David Jeff.
Not idiot.
Oh, he's an idiot. Even Nintendo called him out for being a complete buffoon. He's an idiot. He makes, like, Twisted Metal.
He made Twisted Metal, and he would eventually go on to, like, form his own company and all that stuff and make some indie titles and stuff. But God of War, I think, is basically his mark upon the gaming world. And
yes,
honestly,
it
it's
is.
a really good game. I really,
It's okay.
really enjoyed this game.
The final boss is awful. Like, just bad game design awful.
Okay.
I'm not saying, like, it's... like, thematically, it's a great boss, but in practice, it's a terrible boss, because it...
Right, well, the only thing is, because the Chains of Chaos is such a cool and fun weapon, I did not want to play with Athena's sword, or whatever the other sword was.
Well, the problem in because, yeah, there are other weapons in the game, too.
That's it.
What I was saying with the final boss, very quickly.
Yeah,
the game completely changes. It's no longer what you've been practicing the entire way through. Now it's like a tug-of-war, push-and-pull kind of game. And it is janky, it's dumb, and my game glitched.
Yes, it did. Yeah, because you got stuck in an animation loop that
where I
would
beat
not get
him
out
and
of.
he just refused to die.
But yeah, because it forces you to use a two-handed broadsword versus the Chains of Chaos, which is what you're used to, which is what the whole game is basically built around.
Sort of. There's other weapons in the game, but they kind of suck.
Those?
Yeah, they're not that great. I tried using some. There's also magic you can do,
which really helps.
Yeah,
like,
but the
Zeus's
big
rage is
exactly.
really
But the big draw to the game was like, okay, you are just playing generic angry guy, and you are going to kill your way to become the new god of war and kill Ares out of revenge for who cares what. Even though it's
really sad.
It is sad. We don't really need to explain all of it.
For me, the story actually is really good. I really, really enjoyed it.
It's hokey and it's funny. The thing is, I think like 2 and 3 would later do better in terms of like adding more of the Greek mythological characters and monsters and gods for you to fight.
Yeah.
God of War 1, you start out with the Hydra fight, which is cool.
Oh yeah.
And then it's like generic guys, minotaurs and stuff.
Around,
a long time, just lots of generic puzzles, Zelda dungeons and stuff, which the platforming stuff and the cruel platforming
didn't age as well as the combat. And the combat is what I played.
Yes, which I think 2 and 3 do much better with. But the thing is, this game for PS2, whoa,
wow,
yeah,
that's the reason you played it. Yeah. Oh, and also,
it was the spectacle.
Yes,
I'm actually going to remember to let this cutscene play this time.
Excellent.
Oh, look, and I'm not even in first here. I'll let Waluigi win for you. But yeah, great game. We still have more for PS2. We got to keep moving.
Let's talk about Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah.
The game that doesn't make sense if you didn't play a Game Boy Advance game.
And they still called it 2.
I don't understand.
Yeah, boy, I think, what really stinks is I think this is kind of when they killed Kingdom Hearts. Because this game is good.
It absolutely
is. I think, like, in a lot of ways, it's better than the first one, and I don't like the first game.
In terms of its gameplay and combat, it is far and away better than the first game. But I love the first game more as a complete package than I do the second game, because of the fact that you don't...
Sure,
unless
I see
if
that.
you don't play...
Oh, yes, definitely.
If you don't play
it makes
Chain of
no
Memories,
freaking sense.
Which
it's also boring. The pacing is so bad in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah, and the fact that you revisit the exact same places at times, it just kind of takes some of the fun out of actually playing through.
Let's go to some retro courses.
Heck yeah, let's do it. However, what I will say is that it is very much style over substance, and that style at times can be really fun.
Yeah, I'm not one for the flippy midair fighting, but for those who are into that, oh my gosh, Kingdom Hearts 2, it really figured that style out.
Absolutely. And the fact that we got like a new team of bad guys, and we actually kind of figured out a little bit more of the background lore about, Organization 13 and all that.
Yeah.
Does it really get out of hand? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even in 2,
it's not even fun bad writing. It's just bad writing. And the thing is, people really love these games for the Disney and the Final Fantasy. Yes, and this one has even more Disney, even more Final Fantasy.
Dude, you could go to the Tron world. That was cool.
There was a lot that I wasn't expecting. I was pleasantly surprised by Mulan. That translates very well to Kingdom Hearts.
Absolutely.
What was a disappointment though was seeing all the returning worlds. Like Disney has no short supply of creative worlds and stuff, but nope, there we are revisiting all the same ones again.
The Hercules Coliseum.
Yeah. And then the generic worlds. Though one of my favorite was the Steamboat Willie world.
That was fun. Yeah,
it's
that
great.
was a lot of fun.
Well, the level itself kind of sucks, but the actual redesign of everyone. You know, like the Nightmare Before Christmas redesigns, even though we've already been there.
Yeah.
And that's a Touchstone property, Disney. That's not yours. Stop it.
They bought it up after a while.
I think what really causes a problem with this one, even though I think the gameplay is a huge improvement, graphics as well, a huge improvement, especially for PS2. The over-convolution of the story, especially for those who missed out on Chain of Memories, this game is kind of killing its own franchise.
I don't understand.
And not really understanding like why people loved KH1, despite all of its problems.
I'm not putting the blame on Tetsuya Nomura solely. It's just I just don't understand what it is about his games that just can't just tell a conventional story.
Yeah.
At times. You know what I mean? Like, I appreciate the experimentation, especially with, like, trying to tell a huge long-form story with Kingdom Hearts.
Well,
but
it's not even telling a story.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Just,
yeah, the execution isn't there.
Yeah, it's
a
lot of like listening into a lot of dialogues that you don't understand, you know, and that's not great storytelling. I need to be compelled to what they're doing already.
Power of the heart.
Yeah.
Light.
Darkness, the light, the
Heartless.
Darkness. That's
Nobodies.
like,
yeah.
It's
a
just
bunch of
that.
It's a bunch of nouns that have no context, and even in universe, the context kind of at times isn't all there.
Nobody's
it's
really
only there if you
yeah,
dig
and,
for it.
and the thing is, and nobody played Cage 1 for that. So that's why
No,
I'm saying,
I
like,
didn't.
for some reason, Cage 2 was like soaked in it.
The Keyblade War, the Keyblade Warriors,
Though-
handsome.
You're saying though the battle against 1000 Heartless. Oh my God, that is probably the best.
That
part.
was a lot of fun.
That was so fun.
Yes.
Really pushing the PS2 to its limit. That was some good
Yeah.
stuff.
I still say I'd still say give it a shot for the gameplay, if nothing else.
If you love the first one, if not, don't touch it.
The series is still
Stay
readily
away.
available on PC and also
Yeah.
PS5 and Xbox at this point.
Yep. On cloud, unfortunately, for Switch.
yeah, don't do-
Yuck. Don't do that.
Don't.
Do not do that.
The last PS2 game I'd like to talk about would be Yakuza.
Yakuza.
Yes.
Yeah.
So-
All right. So speaking of Shenmue,
Yeah,
this
speaking of
this
Shenmue.
is kind of like Shenmue, but
Better.
what if Shenmue was fun?
Yeah.
Not to. I mean,
to
that was
brag,
easy.
yeah.
An
Yeah.
easy dig. I'm trying not to make that sound like an insult. I mean, like, actually
if you-
try to make, like, really cool, fun ideas to make the Shenmue, which was, like, a huge world that you can freely explore and get into fistfight combat with
Yeah.
people. You have money, you have, like, an overarching revenge story.
Yeah.
You know what? I'd never really pieced it together until I just accidentally said that. Yeah, this kind of Yakuza is just fun Shenmue.
It really is. Like, it takes a very tropey approach to, like, the Yakuza or, like, Mafia-style cinema and just kind of really making its own, especially in the fact, like, I just know the basics of this series. I have Yakuza 1 and 2 Kiwami, the remakes that I need to get to.
I watched a game movie of the first.
Yes.
Yakuza 0, though, because it was a remake of this, I think. Right?
Yakuza 0 actually...
No, not 0. I'm sorry. What you were saying.
Yeah,
is-
Kiwami. Yeah. No, you're good.
There's so many of them.
Yeah.
Can you blame me?
The thing that I like about it is that it's a very centralized open world, and I think it takes place in Ikebukuro
Yeah.
in Japan, where you are.
I think
you
so.
start out as after a misunderstanding and being jailed for like 10 years. You are a low-ranking Yakuza member. Kiryu, yes. Yeah, that's right. You're trying to make your way back up.
You can
into
play
the
as him in
organization.
Monkey Ball now. It makes me happy.
That doesn't make me happy. And you're trying to work your way back up into the organization and figure out who wronged you. And not only are you doing like walking around and getting into random fist fights with other like gang members or salarymen who are drunk and just get into your way, with over-the-top brawling fighting mechanics, which was kind of done in Shenmue, but it becomes one of the focal points of Yakuza.
Yeah.
You're actually able to play mini games that are scattered all throughout Ikebukuro,
Which is kind of something that, like, Shenmue thought of, but it just didn't really, like, it didn't go all the way.
Yeah, it was only at an arcade.
Almost, or like, you know, you get like capsule toys in 3. Like,
Yeah,
that's
the
about
gotcha
all you
toys,
got. Yeah.
No, but with this, there's like, if I'm thinking correct, there is karaoke, there's bowling, there's like everything you can
It's
think of.
self-aware too. Like, it's not all straight face serious. Well, it is super straight face serious,
For the main
and that's
story.
why it's funny.
Yes. Yeah, you can like be singing your heart out to like a late 2000s ballad, and then all of a sudden you're having a deep conversation about the human soul and if you're going to heaven or some stuff. Like, okay.
Oh,
and
yes,
that's what I love. That's what I want. That's what draws me to want to play this series.
Yeah.
That's all I really have to say because I have not played them that much. Anything
I haven't gotten a chance to as well. Too many games, as we've always said. Boo, give me that bomb back, you stinking whatever. We're moving on to a brand new console, aren't we?
We're going on to the multiplats.
Multiplats?
We are going to now talk about Psychonauts.
Psychonauts! We almost played this today, too.
Oh my god, this game is freaking amazing.
The problem with playing this one for you guys today is there's a lot of dialogue, and it's very funny, and we would want you to hear it.
Yeah, that's half of the game.
Yeah, so instead, how about you just play it on Steam, where it is readily available for you to play?
Yep. So, do we want to explain what Psychonauts is real quick?
A super weird 3D platformer where you're effectively like Inception diving into people's brains, and you're kind of studying to be like a dream investigator, right?
Exactly.
Or a brain investigator to like solve people's problems and traumas and things like that.
Yeah. So you play as Raz, who was a runaway circus kid who joined, voiced again, speaking of, by the same guy who was the voice of Invader Zim. And
I was trying to get his voice. Yeah, I couldn't get it.
I can't do it.
Well, he does a different voice in this one, too. He doesn't do the straight-up Invader Zim voice like he does in Destroy All Humans.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
but
that guy has a huge vocal range. You wouldn't think he would, but he does.
Yeah, he does. You play as Raz, you're going to a summer camp that's for these gifted kids with psychic abilities. And yeah, your dream is to be basically a psychonaut or a government agent who works with people's dreams and psyches to solve crimes and find clues and help them get their be themselves again.
Yeah.
And it's a very tongue-in-cheek kind of 3D platformer, created and written by Tim Schafer, who helped with Monkey Island, Maniac Mansion, and
so it's
Brawl.
funny.
Yes,
it's weird funny.
Hysterical.
Yeah.
It's still, the humor still holds up.
But it's also like, some parts are like really sweet and or like really sad. You'll realize, because you'll go into like people's war story memories or actual real trauma, but it'll still find creative ways to be funny and like make everything still lighthearted.
Right, because there's like one of the main collectibles you can find are these safes hidden around that lock up all of these memories that people want to. Yes, that the people you're helping do not want to think about.
Right.
But you have to delve into the game to find them in order to be able to help them better. You don't have to, it's mainly for percentage completion, but it helps move the story along, and it helps you understand the person you're helping more.
Right, it adds so much more to it.
And every level actually has a distinct gimmick. Like the first level you go to, like you said, is a war story, where you're like avoiding like gunfire, you're going through the trenches. There's another one where you're like going on a race on like the psychic ball you get as a power-up through like a funky 70s disco party. And each level is representative of the character that you're trying to help or training under. Like one of the main teachers, who is the straight-laced, take-no-nonsense, like everything is organized character. I forget his name.
Yeah.
But you go to his mind palace, basically, and it's just a black and white world and a cube, where everything is like put away, filed, and all that. But you start pulling at some things, and then all of a sudden his organized demeanor falls apart, and so monsters start coming out, and like the sensors, that's what they're called, the guys with the little no symbol that try to hit you. He's like, well, now we've got to put myself back together, Raz. What are you doing? Sorry. You better be sorry.
It kind of reminds me at the base level of Banjo-Kazooie, where you've got this 3D open collectathon kind of world that's kind of self-aware and silly, but underneath all of that, it makes you step back and go, whoa, every once in a while.
I guess what I'm trying to say, it's a very multi-layered game that
we got a sequel to.
I know, and I want to play it
like
so
20
bad.
years later.
Also,
I've heard great things too.
A PS4 VR intermission as well, the Rhombus of Ruin or whatever that you could play. But yeah, I want to play the second one so bad. But you can get the first one on Steam, on GOG, and I think even Epic even has it. So it's easily and readily available.
Now, unfortunately, on my version of Steam, something with my version of Windows, I don't know what, but there is a glitch that prevents the game from being played. I'm not allowed to clear the first world.
Which is so weird, and I don't understand. Because
there's a point where you have to bring a flagpole up. You
Yes.
pull a flag up, a flagpole, and the flag will not move.
It's weird, yeah.
Game is just broken. I had looked online about it, and I just could not find a solution. That was a bummer. But
Yeah, but
hopefully that doesn't happen to you. Or if so, you're more dedicated and have a shorter backlog to get through, so you're more determined to fight that out and make sure you give this game its fair chance.
Exactly. So for our next two multiplats that do not involve the 360, which we actually have some 360 games to talk about, we are talking about Lego Star Wars, the video game.
Yeah, a weird licensed among licensed games.
Yeah.
That kind of works.
It really does. It's made by Traveler's Tales, the guys who did like really cool and interesting Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis games. And it takes the story of the first, I can't say the first three, the prequel trilogy of Star Wars, and basically Mickey Mouses its way through without any dialogue, and in a hysterical way retells the plots of those, while also being a solid family multiplayer platform game with some combat. I think it still holds up well. Again, this is also easily available, the complete saga. You get Lego Star Wars 1 and 2. The whole Lego series has been milked to death at this point.
Yep, but this is kind of like the big jump into... Like, I remember this being a big thing even back then.
Oh, I still have my PS2 copy, and I love it to death. It's
Really?
so much fun. Yeah, I like it a lot. Anything else you wanted to add about it?
Not really. Like, honestly, I was even thinking it might not even need to be on the list, but just because it was still a big thing of the year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that's kind of more so what we're talking about here is what was the big stuff that year.
We will then move on to Indigo Prophecy, from the same guys who would eventually go on to make Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls.
This is Fahrenheit, right?
Yes, this was called Fahrenheit in European territories, where it was uncensored. Of course, we couldn't handle the blocky, polygonal, naughty, and scary bits here in the States.
Nope.
But anyway, so it's made by Quantic Dream, the same guys who would eventually make also Detroit Become Human, where it is an adventure game where you have quick time events, you're trying to, like, solve all these different supernatural mysteries. Like, you were possessed at the beginning of the game, and you kill a man in a bathroom in a restaurant, and so you got to figure out why. One of the cool, the beginning is the best part, because you're actually playing as the guy who was possessed, and you're actually cleaning up the blood and trying to make it so that way you can cover up your tracks. And depending on how good a job you do, the detective who has to use the bathroom after you leave can actually be thrown off guard and not be aware that there's a dead person in the bathroom.
Oh my god.
Yeah, which, you'll miss something on your first playthrough, and so, the detective will be like, oh, there's been a murder here. It's like, no! And so it's a lot of stuff like that they're known for, which is the weird, clunky dialogue, the multi-branching stories that you actually do have some effect on. The game just kind of falls apart towards the end, which is indicative of Quantic Dreams in general.
Yep.
This is the one, they had a game out prior to this, but this is the one where that kind of put them a bit more on the map before they were acquired by Sony.
I'd say so.
Yeah, before they were acquired by Sony and making games for them. I don't know if it's available on Steam. I didn't quite find it.
I didn't check that either. Oh well.
Yeah.
Oh well.
You're not missing.
It's
a
more
whole lot,
more so saying it as like the beginning of what this group is going to be.
Yes, exactly.
But not so much the individual game.
So now we're going to actually talk about games that involve the 360, like Burnout Revenge.
Vroom vroom. Except the real racing game this year is kind of the one I'm playing. Not really. So, if you're looking for one that actually had, the big showcase of the 360 graphics.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the particle effects for when you crash your car and everything.
You can flip over and land on other cars too, right?
Yeah, so this was also available on PS2 and the original Xbox, but the 360...
Of course, the 360 is, yeah.
Yeah, probably the better version. I never played that version. I would love to the PS2
much less,
version.
it would have been the selling point too.
Exactly, but this is another one of those Burnout games where, it's all about colliding with your fellow racers and destroying them to get points, to get boosts, to get faster. It's a very madcap arcade-style racing game that... unfortunately, really has been dormant ever since, the late PS3 generation.
Yeah.
Because I don't really know of too many other Burnout games recently, do you?
Did they move to arcade or something and make, some... Or am I just thinking of Cruise and Blast?
No, I think you're thinking of Cruise and Blast, because that was the one that came back that surprised the crap out of me.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, that was the thing. It's really fun. It's really fast-paced. I love the boost mechanic of it. It's arguable whether Burnout 3 or Burnout Revenge is the better Burnout game, But this is probably my personal favorite. If you still have your copy on the original Xbox or the Xbox 360, it's backwards compatible on the Series X and S.
Yeah.
You can play it.
There's that.
Yep. And anything you wanted to add before we get the last one?
Though there's probably other games now anymore that do what it was doing at the time better, because it really was just like a huge showcase game, you know?
Yeah,
like showing off the 360 and less so much like something that I want to go back and play all this time later, you know?
That's fair. All right, so moving on to the final game we want to briefly discuss, and that is Condemned Criminal Origins. What do you know about this game, real quick?
Remind me.
All
I
right.
already don't remember. I did not play this one.
It is a first-person perspective shooter where you are playing as a detective, and like a lot of the poor people and a lot of the downtrodden and marginalized people are like getting really violent. Like violent crime is on the rise, and so you play from the first-person perspective a character who's like trying to find out more about this murderer who's like going around and scalping people. And the thing that really set this game apart for me was the fact that the main mode of combat was actually melee combat. So like you
in
could,
first person.
in first person that worked.
Real, okay.
Yeah, it actually worked pretty well, in my opinion. So what you can do is you can actually get improvised weapons. You can rip pipes off the wall and smack people around with it. You can grab planks of wood. Every bit of weaponry you have has a limited durability.
You know that you say that. I mean, it works in Half-Life and Bioshock, so I can see that.
But the game was built around you actually improvising your weaponry to get, you know, clubs, axes, and even, I think, a fire extinguisher. There are guns involved, but they're more as a last resort because you do not get a lot of ammunition for them. And the fact that, like, everyone you're trying to, like, fight looks like really weird, grimy, and plasticky. So, like, the early 360 graphics kind of play into, like, the weird horror of it all.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, it's a strange game, again, made by Monolith, which had a sequel that came out on the 360 and PS3, but that's it. It was only those two games, which is probably for the best, because I want Monolith to actually make more different games like we got with the Shadow of Mordor games. I don't know, it's just a really fun showcase of the 360 and its power, because you look at these graphics now and you're like, these are like jagged. These don't look that good, but at the time you're like, real people.
Yeah.
And it's like really can be kind of scary at times. Like I get scared at that game every so often. Like people will just jump out of nowhere, and you'll hear like a drug addict somewhere going. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't like that at all.
It's like for the same year, the sounds of the regenerators will forever be scarred into my nightmares.
Yes, exactly. Ugh.
Ugh, yeah, see? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You played that?
I don't even need to make the sound.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, it's. I think you can get them. Yeah, you can get Condemned Criminal Origins on Steam. That's how I played it years and years later.
Okay.
So yeah, you can do that.
That's good.
I think that's actually it.
Yes, I think we finally did it. Woo! Look at that. Oh my god, was it a year.
Absolutely.
Even though, honestly, like, this year, we are in the West getting a lot of the cool stuff we talked about last year.
Yes.
There's some games that, like, we aren't actually seeing just yet, so we're kind of... I think we're actually getting Ace Attorney for the first time over here as well.
Yeah, on the DS.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that... We're talking about them on their actual anniversaries, so it's kind of hard to go back and actually get the proper dates for all this, but still, a pretty great year.
Absolutely.
As we mentioned, we're no longer going to do a favorite and influential. It is now us in charge of the Game of the Year.
Alex, this is a huge responsibility you place upon my shoulders. I don't know if I can handle this.
Well, if you have only one. There can only be one, Mr. Highlander.
Oh, man, Sean Connery, why?
Well, it is still kind of tough, because, like, I think this year I have a lot of, like Mario Kart, guilty loves and favorites that I'm not going to say are better than some other stuff on here that absolutely deserve that award.
Here, why don't I go first and talk about what I think is probably the
sure.
Year. Yeah.
Like, if we were going to do all of the, awards, do the family games, the multiplayer, all that stuff, then sure, eventually, but no. Only people care about what's the best one.
Just like they look at the bottom of the IGN review and just look at the number. They don't even read the review.
7.8, too much water.
Too much water
That's
out
all I needed to know.
Too much water out of 420. Got it. So, if I had to pick just one, I think honestly the game of the year, just looking at it even today, is still Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
The game, I still think, holds up exceptionally well, even compared to the remake that came out not that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's still funny. It's still terrifying. And, you can argue all day.
In some ways, it's better than its remake, but
yeah,
in only some.
Yeah, because I was going to say, you can argue all day if the fact that you don't have a twin stick...
That really didn't matter.
No, because it's like, people are like, well, why can't I walk and shoot at the same time? I'm like, that's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is, it's trying to
Well, it never
get
was
you
in
scared.
Resident Evil before.
No, you
If
always
anything,
have to
you have
stop.
much better control.
Absolutely. You have way better control in this one versus the prior Resi games.
Yeah, the only real downsides to this one are luckily parts that they did get rid of, which are the horrible quick time event Krauser fights, the parts that just did not age well.
Yeah, the knife fight is fine. It's something I'm glad that kind of did get made, put out in the remake. Even like some of the
still,
fights,
there's no more giant Mecha Salazar statue that
right.
chases you. Not there anymore. Apparently, that's the line. We've
the line.
discovered the line, and that's it.
The Robo statue that just follows you for like 5 seconds and then falls to its doom.
I think that kind of stuff is really important for the game, though, because
It
of
is.
how scary it actually gets at some points.
Yeah.
Like, you need it to be lighthearted and goofy in order for me to get, like, a little breath of, like, just give me a moment.
Yeah,
you know?
there has to be the levity in order to really accentuate and lift up the horror of the game.
Yeah.
All things considered, yeah, I think it's still the best game of the year and probably one of my absolute favorites of all time.
Yeah, and you know what, Zach?
Yeah. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I agree.
You agree?
I agree.
Oh my god.
Resident Evil 4 is the game of 2005.
But
I think
we're
we can
playing
both
Mario
put
Kart
that down.
DS.
We are. Oh yeah, if I'm going back to just have fun, I'm playing this one. This is
Right.
such a cozy game for me because I've beaten it into oblivion. You can kind of tell I pretty much played it without even looking today.
For the whole hour and a half we've been talking.
I almost got to all of the courses.
But Resi 4 is the best game of the year for you.
Yeah, I think just because if I'm combining to play innovations and then what it's doing for the medium and its own series, this game is enormous.
Oh, hands down.
Yeah. And Mario Kart DS, yes, I love it, but this is just perfecting what was already there. This is not doing anything enormous for what we've seen. Like, I love Psychonauts, but I've seen stuff like that before. You know, like we've seen those. Resident Evil 4 it's kind of like the Ocarina of Time for this year.
Yeah, I would say so. Like, as much as I think Shadow of the Colossus is a phenomenal game, there are enough bits to it to where it's like, I don't know how
It aged quite poorly.
It aged awkwardly, I would say. Yeah. So, but versus something like Resi 4, yeah,
that still plays well today.
Yeah.
I would say that the best way to play that game, if you want to play the original, is play the Nintendo Wii version.
Yes.
Because then you have the pointer controls, which makes it that much easier. Though I would say it's more immersive, honestly.
Yeah, because it kind of puts you in the shoes of Leon, and like you're actually having to aim the Wiimote, like you're actually aiming your revolver and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and because of the way that the game worked, where you can't walk while you're shooting, it makes the control with the pointer that much more. It makes sense.
Exactly. Yes.
Anyway, yeah, it was great. 2005 was a great year. 2006 is also going to be a big year too. Let's not poke ahead because we have spent enough time doing this today.
We've spent an awful lot of time. Dude.
Yeah, we did.
Like I've said, we just don't know when to shut up.
No, and I knew that if we were actually playing a game live this time, it would make it even longer. However, luckily this one I could kind of shut up about the game. There was only a few tidbits here and there that I was like, oh god, I gotta mention this one thing about the dual screen, because you know that was the idea of the Nintendo DS. But video gaming is coming into its own. The Xbox 360 is now out, and the Nintendo DS is starting to pave the way for what Nintendo is going to do for the next 20 years.
Basically, yeah. Absolutely.
And that is all we have for this episode of HITBOX. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. If you enjoyed the show, you can help us keep it alive by supporting us on Patreon with the links in the show notes and in this video's description. For those of you on YouTube, remember to like the video and subscribe for more. Be sure to let us know what you thought of the show and what other topics you'd like to hear us cover in the future. And special thanks to all of our amazing Patreon members. We'll see you.